Okay, so after I watched that movie, then Free Guy, which the reason I'm bringing it up is because everything since then has been back. They've been building on that, what they've been showing me. So everything has been building off of that and more things. But so I'll probably reference some different things out of that movie, and then so later in the evening, I was sitting here and I was like, all by myself, everybody's asleep, and I'm just sitting here. I was like, I think I'm gonna watch a movie. And so I went on Prime and I was looking through the movies, and this movie stood out to me. And so I started watching. It was, oh my God, it was so freaking good. It was the first supernatural one that came across, because when I was looking through mystery thrillers, and it was the first one that was supernatural. So anyways, and that is what I'm always looking for. And they didn't have a supernatural, just a supernatural thing. So anyways, I had to start writing stuff down this morning. It was like so much. Like, oh my God. I even had this cool thing happen. There was a couple. I mean, it's a lot right now. This morning, I got up and I went in and I was making my tea. And this weird thing. And it was like, my dad had a particular smell. I would always smell it in the morning, and he had this particular smell, and I would always just think it was kind of like, I don't know, like farty old man smell or something, you know. And so I always just associated him. I mean, that smell of him is the only like, there's nobody else that matches that smell in my mind, in my memory bank. And so he had a particular smell that I associated with him in the morning. And all of a sudden, that smell was so strong. And I was like, what the fuck? That's so weird. And all of a sudden, I was like, oh. I was like, oh, Dad's here. And so, I acknowledged him. And that always makes him happy when you can understand. And it's trippy because, especially to me, like, I don't, like, there's lots of people like they're out there channeling this person or that person or whatever. And I believe that I am tapping into, like, the information railway out there. But then also you have direct information that comes from your higher self. And then you have an oversoul you can go up to. And then you also have all of your family and you've got ancestors and stuff you don't even know around, trying to fix the things that they want to fix, that they saw once they had passed over. And then, you're the game piece for everybody in your group, so they're all, trying to, it's like the horse races or something, and you're the one on the track, and they're all out there, screaming, no, number 9, whatever, or their crazy names of the horses on the horse track. But anyways, another cool visual they gave me, this one I thought was really cool, was that if you think of life like this big giant boat, and like the Titanic or something, and out on the waters. And so then you have a whole group of people, like you get the lookout, you have all these people like up in the window part, you have all these people on the deck at the front part, all these people who are very focused on the trajectory. Where are we headed? What's going on up there? Can you see up there, So you have a whole group of people that are like that, very focused on the outcome. What's to come of all this? Where are we headed? What's happening up there? Like, you know what I mean? And so, and then in the middle, we have all of the people who are just dancing and singing and not paying any attention. They're just busy having, a party. And they're just, whooping it up in the middle, not paying any attention to anything. And then you have the ones in the back who have given up, and they're surrounded by danger. They've got danger all around them, but they don't register it. They don't care, or, they're just, and that is one of the things from the movie that is so significant. And I'll have to look up the name of the movie. I'll have to link it in my comments or something, the movie, if I can find the link to it. But at least I can to the trailer, I'm sure. So I'll find a link and I'll put it like in the comments or something. But it was so cool in how it backed up to the other movie. Oh yeah, and I'll tell you another visual because it goes with this too. I'm telling you, everything they just kept showing me, it was like, it just becomes like, whoa, this is so much. And that's why it's like, okay, if I write it down and try and, keep it straight. But, okay, so this other visual that they showed me this morning. So I was in there and I was doing my tea. And then I smelled my dad, and he, 555, and he, so I knew he was with me. And plus it was just so funny because there's other smells I would associate it with him, but this was like, that little kid smell when your stinky old dad comes out, it was that kind of morning smell that he had. I don't know, it's probably sweat and stinky underwear or something, I don't know, but anyways, it always was the same. And so I just had that smell, but he had other smells like vodka, whiskey, but he was, so I knew he was with me, and that so opened me up because it was like, man, I'm still so tired. I just want to go back to sleep so bad. And Stella started getting uncomfortable, and so she started waking me up at like 2:30. And I was like, oh, I just want to go back to sleep. But she just is relentless. It's like one thing after another. You can't relax. You can't doze back off. And so you're just kind of laying there, just spinning out, waiting for the next thing. Like, okay, come on, go on. And so then, and finally, she's back asleep. That's why I said, man, people, like, they hear her snoring, but people don't realize, like, this is my break. I'm on break right now. But one thing that I really want to acknowledge this morning as well, that I really noticed, because I was rubbing her, this was really funny too, because she was getting up and she was getting so frustrated because I wouldn't get up, and she was getting so mad, and she went in the other room, she sits down, and she's all pissed, and she comes huffing back in here, and I had turned my back, I'm on the couch, because, I think it partly is because she had slept with me her whole life, and then when she got sick, and her bed won't fit in my bedroom, and it's out here, and so I'm too far away. It's just really uncomfortable to her when she's not feeling good. Because when she's feeling good, she would come out here and sleep, But when she's not feeling good, she gets real much like she just wants to put her head on me. She wants to be touching me. And so, she'll just caress me all night if I'm not. And so anyways, sleeping on the couch when she's not feeling good, which I just long for my new bed. But so I have my back to her, and she comes up and starts hitting me in the back, like, even tries to put her foot up on me, and she's making the funniest noises, because I have been telling her for so long, you need to make some other sounds. You can't just whine all the time. You gotta use some other communication. And so she's been working on it. She's been really good at it too. Like, she's making all sorts of things, and she's really trying to show me. She's really trying to be specific. So she's really working on it, man. I can really see how this ascension, if you're working with your animal, which I think that the people who are awake and aware know that their animal is also in this ascension awakening process. They're processing something, they're leveling up, they're going into the next level. And I can see, and I know they've showed me over and over and over. I ask all the time, like, about her pain and stuff, but this is teaching her so much, because as an animal, especially as a predatory animal and stuff, like, there's so much compassion and pain and suffering that she had to acknowledge to level up into the next state of being. So, I know that she's here with me, we're working together, and the thing that they were showing me this morning, though, is she was cracking me up. And so, she's hitting me and all this stuff. And so when I turned and I was petting her, I was, doing silly things like what you do with little kids. And, boop, and tickle her tummy and talk baby talk to them and stuff like that. And I was thinking, because I didn't talk baby talk to my kids. Like, this side of me, I was very, like, to my kids even. How did you say that? No, I wasn't that bad, no. But, I would always enunciate. Like, if they said a word wrong, I wouldn't sit there and keep saying it wrong to them. And I had one daughter who had a speech impediment. So I was really, mindful talking clearly. But, you know, I mean, it's always stood out to my kids that I have a weird accent. But, you know, I was raised by Midwesterners, grew up in the South, then moved to, in my 20s to my 30s, I lived in Southern California, and it has a distinct way of talking. So I think when you go and you move in different places, you just pick up on different words and different ways that people say things, and so it kind of just jumbles all in together. But anyways, my kids have always been up here, except for the older ones. They were in Southern California for a short time, but you know, they've always been up here, and they've always been raised by West Coast. They've always been around West Coast. So anyways, they always think I talk funny, but it was nothing about that. I don't even know why I was sort of talking about that. I get off on the strangest things. Where was I? Okay, so oh yeah, they were showing me while I was doing that. All of a sudden, it was like, this is a side of you that you wouldn't have got to see. Like how much that has been a part of my healing is this side of myself that I have got to find with her. You know, and then it really hit me as like what love really is, you know? Love is really this give and take of energy, you know? And, you know, I know we're moving into a more loving time and a loving space, and that's what we have to acknowledge these things and see them. And really, you know, when we have to desire them. If you don't have it in your heart that that's what you want, then you're just not ready to level up, you know. You still have more lessons to go, which, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think most of the people are going to, you know, I think a lot of people are here to level up as far as I'm concerned. And there may be a lot who are not going into the age of Aquarius, but a lot, it's all about this leveling up. And so, even if you don't go, you know, all the way to, you know, on the path to enlightenment, you're still, you know, leveling up in the game. And so, and it's always just a game, but you're here to play the game so you can level up. And so, you know, it's just that kind of thing. But anyways, that really showed me something this morning where it really, like sometimes you just do something, like you can know something, but then when it's shown to you or something and you see it in a new light, it's like, oh my gosh, yeah. Wow, that's really cool. Another really cool thing they showed me this morning, which has to do with this other movie thing that I'll talk about more too. But I was in there, you know, doing something in the kitchen, making my tea and stuff, and all of a sudden they showed me this other person mirroring me from up like where they were, so where they could see. They were mirroring me, and I don't know if it was happening right at that exact moment, but they were showing me how they have this view of higher up, so they can see these patterns and they can see these mirroring effects happening as people come into alignment. And so it was really cool, but it reminded me about the kaleidoscope and the patterns, and how everything in life is numbers and patterns, and how the kaleidoscope was significant in this movie. That the second one, not the free guy, it could have even had something about a kaleidoscope in it. I don't know. But in the next movie, it was very much, I really wish I could remember the name of the movie. It was on Prime, and it, I don't think one of the girls that was in it, I recognize that I've seen in something else. Maybe the guy. The guy could have really been a real fighter. This guy was like, he was very athletic. And it was, so this movie was about this girl, and she had a traumatic experience as a child, and her mom was the one who was really into kaleidoscopes. So she was showing her as a kid these patterns, and the mom was so fascinated how you could keep turning it, and the colors could just create all these different patterns, just like, you know, snowflakes don't make the same pattern. Everything, like we are each individual patterns. And so, and we're always turning, we're always in motion. And so we're always in this creating a pattern. And the people, like when you come in, you're playing a part, you're playing a template, you're playing a pattern. And so it's like, and in each thing is like the changing and the expansion of the patterns. but there's like parts that people come in and play. It's like, and the parts, the more that develops, the more parts that become available. And that's kind of like what I keep talking about with the changing of the ages. Like, it gives us all of these new possibilities, all these new opportunities to experience as souls. And I got to talk more about that a free guy. I was so blown away how it was. I got to stop because I was, to my company, I was explaining how this is, to think of life like a video game because it's so similar. And I said, I think like this new movie kind of shows it. I said, I've never watched this movie, but let's turn it on. Maybe I'm interested now. I'm really seeing things at this video game thing. Let's see what it's showing. And so then when I started watching it, I couldn't even believe it. I was standing up. I was like, oh my God, this. Oh my God. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, I got to record it. This is insane. And it just kept going and going. I was like, oh my God, this is the story of the awakening. And it's hidden in the deception. Like, they create a mask when they create the truth. It's always in a mask, and that is this how we're the as below, as above, so below, or whatever that thing is. How it's the light and the dark of the same thing. It is the duality. And so anyways, so let me think of where I was in the story. I'm so super tired. My brain is so fried right now with how much stuff is. I was like, man, I was getting so much that I was like, and just have my dad show up, and all of a sudden I felt like the whole room's crowded. Like, there's stuff going on down there. And it's like, okay, this is like a full moon, or the planets coming into alignment. Is everything opened up? Is a new portal open? Like, what the hell is happening here? But it's very loud. And one thing that's really funny too is because sometimes, when for somebody who is hearing the other ones that are around you, or I think everybody hears them. I don't think that everybody understands what they're hearing. But when you hear them and you acknowledge that you are speaking to other people, where people think you're just speaking to yourself or something, and you acknowledge you're speaking to other people, and then you can start recognizing energies, smells, voices, and stuff like that. But it becomes just as much a conversation in your head as if you were having one with regular people. Like, it's no different. And so sometimes, like when I'm talking to them, sometimes I'll talk out loud, and but I'm in a conversation with them, and I was just thinking that's where people go around and they see these mentally ill people and they think, oh, they're mentally ill or crazy, they're talking to me, he's not there. No, there's things there. That's what I'm saying. There's things around you all the time talking. Once you acknowledge them, those people just have a really strong awareness. They came here to experience a certain template, a certain experience that was associated with, that could back up with that. So you could come in and experience, coming in and being, having that ability, and then not recognizing it as your ability, and them telling you that it is something broken in you. There's a lot of things, a lot of different lessons, a lot of different growth that occurs in all of these things. That's why we're seeing it play out this way, is because it creates so much growth. And so now I keep getting so many things. Okay, so and sorry if I'm bouncing around and stuff, I'm telling you. Hopefully I'm going to make sense. And another thing they showed me too is how much sometimes I'm speaking directly to somebody. And that is also very trippy. And my dad really wanted me to make sure that I was aware that he is a part of, like, my team. And that got me really emotional. And that he's better, he's gotten to, back to his soul self. He's not caught up in the 3D drama he left behind. He sees the bigger picture now. And so now he understands more what's going on, and he's a part of, the whole thing. And so I was like, oh, that is really cool. And it really made me feel good. And, and that's one of the things why people need to, forgiveness is important. It's so crazy because I've seen mediums talking about, like, there's one guy who drives the Uber car or something, and people get in his car, and he said that he started giving readings and stuff, or talking to them, because they'd get in the car with a bunch of people and they didn't know they were. And so he would start asking them about it. But first he'd have to kind of like, do you believe in ghosts or whatever? And the people would all be different. Some people would get out of his car. But there was a lot of conversations where the people had not forgiven their parent, and then their parent was with them, or their grandparent or an uncle, whatever it was, and it was with them all the time, trying to help them. So it gives me so emotional to try and get that forgiveness, to get things back in balance. And, the people's own rigidity, the people's own pain is what holds them back, and vengeance and bitterness and anger and depression. It's all these energies that have to be released. And they were showing me stuff about that this morning, that's for sure. And so, anyways, I want to go back to the one movie. Even though they went so much together, and everything they keep showing me all goes is like an extension of the same tree. Oh my gosh, and right now there's a tree on my screen with this meditation music. Oh, that's weird. And maybe that's why I said it though. But then that's trying to not recognize that when you're in sync and you are recognized, like, that is it. You're in sync. It's all it is. It's like you become aware. You become in sync with nature, with the world, with the energy. It's a different energy when you're not in sync with it. When you're out of sync, it's a totally different energy. And it's very uncomfortable. And it's very much where you get victim mentality and stuff. And so, anyways, that kind of ties into this movie. And so, this, in this movie, so this girl had this trauma, and her mom would wear this necklace, and her mom got really sick. And in this family unit, there was the dad, a workaholic dad, the mom who was sick, the older, beautiful daughter, and the younger son who was real smart. So it's always the older and the younger have something that sticks out, or something that is noticed about them. And then the middle kids always feel like lost, like they don't matter. They're invisible. It's kind of like, if you look up about family dynamic patterns and roles and stuff like that, then the middle kids often feel like nobody notices them, nobody cares. It's just a dynamic that happens in those families, in most families, not those families. But so this girl was the middle child, and she was really close to her mom, and she would have been more like the smart, artsy, deep thinker one. And her mom was more of like a free spirit kind of, like was into the kaleidoscope. So she was, and she was sick. So of course, she's thinking a lot more about what's real and what's not real. And so she, the daughter was really close to her, and she thought her mom would always get better. Like her mom was, there was no way anything could happen to her mom. And so, and so she was really shocked when it happened. And then all of a sudden it was like everyone in her family, no one could see her anymore. And they would talk to each other, but nobody could see her. And she was like becoming invisible. And then she started becoming invisible to the rest of the world. Nobody could see her. And she was just living in her own pain and isolation. And she had no contact with anybody ever. And she'd sometimes go sit with her family, and she would even talk to them, but nobody could hear her. And she was very lonely. And her way of supporting herself was because she was so invisible, that she could go into situations and not be seen. And so she started banking on that. And she started going to where celebrities were, to clubs or parties or wherever. She would find celebrities and follow them around until they did something that was noteworthy, and then she would get pictures of it and send it into a tabloid, and then she would get paid that way. So that's how she, was able to survive in the world. And so, but everything was through text. She never had, and she could be sitting, like there was a lot of scenes where she would be the tabloid guy who was so skeezy. He was so stereotypical skis. And she would go in this big messy office room thing, and she would be sitting there texting him, and she'd be hearing him, what he was saying. So she was always like one step ahead of everybody, because she was able to go through and not be seen. And so she could always know what someone was going to do before they did it. And so she was really, she was kind of, it was sneaky, but it was like surviving sneaky. So, it was, sometimes you got to do stuff to survive. And anybody who's been in that situation knows that. And that's why, there's no room for judgment, because if you've been in a situation, then you would understand it. Then you have compassion, because you know how hard it is. You know the pain behind everything that goes on. So it's all about the compassion. That's why the whole thing behind incarnating, because the more experience you have, the more compassion. The more compassion you have, the more love that you are. The more love that you are, the higher frequency that you are. And the more higher frequency you are, the more that you expand in that, in the universe, in love. Dark is, it's almost like dark follows light, like dark needs light. And light doesn't need dark. I don't know. I just can, I don't know. Sometimes I don't even know what they're showing me or telling me. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Anyways, that's what they said. So, but so she was in the, she's going around, getting these pictures and, wrecking people's lives. And so it's like she's putting out more bad energy. And so she's kind of in this very isolated, lonely, vulnerable, but sneaky, manipulative, like state of being. And so she is in this club, and she's following some, I don't know, musician or rapper or somebody to go do something. And she was going up the stairs, and this guy, this huge guy, sees her, and he grabs her because she's going up a private thing. He's a security at this place, and he grabs her and says, "What are you doing? You can't go up there." And she's totally shocked. She hasn't had any human interaction since she was a little kid. And so she was like totally shocked. And she was like, "Can you see me?" And funny enough, I saw a girl do this the other day. It was the most funniest thing. I got to throw this in because it was so funny. Because she said that she was out taking her dog for a walk. And that these two guys that were, I don't know, they had matching jogging suits on, and but two different colors, but they were matching, and they were all like, walking, and then she was walking behind them with their dog, so they started walking real slow. And then they started like saying things to her or something. And so she was just ignoring them and crossed over to the other side of the street. So then they crossed over to the other side of the street, and they were still ahead of her, and she was trying to go slow. So they went and sat down on a stoop. So she had to pass them. And as she passed them, this one said something to her like, like, "You look good," or "You're beautiful," or something like that. And she stopped, and she's like, "What?" And he said it again, and she goes, "You can see me?" It was so funny. I was cracking up. She really threw him. And again, she stuck with that and then just walked off. It was hilarious. And she could hear them like very confused. But so anyways, this happened to this girl in the movie. And she was she was like, you can see me? Like, she was really shocked, and he thought it was the same thing. Like, what? Don't fuck with me. Like, you're going out. And so he was throwing her out of this club. And she was just like, who the hell is this guy? What the hell's going on? Why can this guy see me? And so she was really fascinated. So she went home and she started looking up about who he was online. And then she found he was a cage fighter, and he was big, like, tough guy. And so she was trying to understand what the connection was. And then I think it was, oh yeah, okay, so then she saw well, when she was looking him up, she saw the thing supposedly had ruined his career or something, was that he had just gotten together with Megan Fox. She's in it. Megan Fox was in it. Or her lookalike, one of her clones or something. I don't know. I didn't look up to see if her name was on it or something, but I recognized her. And the other girl too, I recognize her. I just don't know what from. But so she was an actress, and she had gotten together with the cage fighter guy, and he was winning all the fights and everything. Everything was going great for him. And then this picture got taken where he was kissing some other girl, and the girl left him. He started losing fights. His career got screwed, and so he was on the down and out. Now he's a security guard at this place, and he still fights, but he goes and does like Fight Club in like little seedy places for a couple $100. And so he really wants to get back in the ring and do all that. He just is giving up on himself. He just felt kicked aside or whatever. And so she is going and, going to, now she wants to talk to him. And so she's going to find him. And so she starts talking to him, and she starts saying, nobody can see me. And he's like, oh my God, shut up. And what do you want? And he didn't want anything to do with her. And then she said who she was, and then he got really mad. And so then there's a whole thing that goes on with this this interaction, and how it goes to where their relationship starts developing. They start becoming friends. She starts helping him. She can go into these places and get the stuff, so she starts helping him because she thinks if he can see her, and she wrecked his life with this picture, that if she goes in and she fixes it, then everybody else will be able to see her. And so she wants to be seen. And so she is trying to fix all of this stuff, and she's going, I don't know, some of the stuff they didn't show, and so, but she was a manipulator and stuff, and so I think that she would try and catch them and was blackmailing them to lose to the guy, because she got fights set up. And so he got back to where he was winning. So, of course, then the girl comes back, and he was already seeing the other girl, because when he was in his down and out, she was there for him, and they bonded, and they had started a relationship, and they had even had sex, and she'd never even been touched before like that, so there's like, everything was very foreign to her. Like it was like this whole new experience for her. And so, but it was hard for him, because like he'd be standing there with her and nobody could see her. And so he was starting to doubt his own sanity. Like, is he crazy? Does she even exist? Is this a figment of his imagination? And so he was very confused. And so then when the other girl came back and was like, then she started pushing back up on him, and he started slipping back. And even when the girl told him, she's only there when you're winning, and he was like, I did it to myself. It was me. I got to the top, and then I got too full of myself, and I started doing things to bring myself down. And so he was saying it was him who had done all the problems. It was never that girl. And so then she was like, well, I guess that's why, I could fix your life and nothing fixed in mine. And he said, maybe you need to start seeing things differently. Maybe it's you or something like that. And so she leaves, and she just goes back to her same way of being, just alone and isolated, and still going and trying to hang out around her family. But now she all of a sudden started seeing her family. She started seeing them. She started seeing their pain, what they were going through. And it started like waking her up. And she started being like, like this whole other side of her was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even see. She was so stuck in her pain, she couldn't see their pain at all. And she thought they were a certain way. She had her own projection, her own judgment on them, who she associated what they were. And she had no room for who they really were, because she was stuck on her own vision of them. And so once she had learned, once she had seen in this compassionate side of herself towards the person, she saw a whole new person. And it enlightened her. It helped her see. Then she went to the next family member, and it happened again. And it was like, and it was really cool. Like, it was really cool. Like, this movie was really, really cool. I don't know who made it or whatever, who wrote it. It was, oh man, I thought it was so cool. And so then she saw her brother's pain. And then she did something in both of their lives to be a catalyst. She could knock something over to create the butterfly effect, to send the ripple into their lives. Even though she wasn't present, where they didn't know she was there, she still had the ability to do that. And so she did it and made these, beautiful changes in these people's lives. And then she went to her dad, and he's just sitting there working away at a desk. And all of a sudden she started seeing him different. And she started realizing he's it's going to make me emotional. Man, it was so good. She started seeing him as being emotion or hidden. And there was this other cool part too, because nobody had seen her or anything. And so when she was with that guy, when he started making his comeback, somebody had gotten a picture. She'd never shown up in a picture before, but she showed up in this one picture. And that's why Megan Fox started calling, like, oh, who's this girl? Because everybody was like, who's the mystery girl? Are they back on? And so, Megan Fox knew they weren't back on, so she wanted to know who the girl was. So that's why she started talking to him again. And then, and he was moving back on top. But the girl, she had been seen, but she wanted to be seen more. She wanted this other existence, but she didn't know how to have it. She was so stuck in her own pain. So then when she went to see her dad, then, and she started seeing him sitting there and seeing like he was a workaholic. And then she went into his bedroom, and she saw that he was working because he didn't want to feel. He wanted to stay focused on something. And so she went into his bedroom, and she started looking around at all of the things, and all of her mom everywhere in the room. And these 3 big pictures of the kaleidoscope things, and how all the patterns and stuff, it was like, it just all of a sudden clicked with her, and clicked with me too, and the patterns and the numbers and the patterns and the templates and all these things that we are playing out, and these beautiful patterns and stuff, and how they're watching, and how the patterns are developing all the time. And it was really in the color and the matter, and how, like, I don't know how to explain it all, but when they show you, you can see it, and it just makes sense. And so then, when she started realizing that others had pain, and that others were going through, their own suffering, and she all of a sudden realized that that guy had asked her to come to this fight, but she would never go out in public because people couldn't see her. They would just shove past her, and she would get hurt all the time. So she wouldn't go to big events like that where there's a big public place, because she'd gotten hurt before. And so, normally she would keep, where she wouldn't do something because she had to keep herself safe. But so when she had seen all these things with her family, all of a sudden she was like, well, she needed to be more selfless, that she needed to do something because it was for somebody else, not for her. And so all of a sudden, she was like, I've got to get to the fight. So she's going through this whole thing to get to the fight. And she goes, and the fight's going on. And he's getting his ass whooped by this rematch because she had set this whole thing up. She was always like puppeting behind the scenes because she could be unseen. And so, you know, but she, but I knew that this guy was going to bring the light on her. Like, I knew he was going, like, from the start of the movie. And I mean, like, I knew what was going to go on through the movie, but it was beautiful to watch. So even though I'm telling you, because I knew from the start how it was going to play out, but it was like so cool to watch. And so then she went, she got to the fight and she got down there, and then he was in the round 3 or something. He was just all beat up, and she went into the cage like a manager and went up and started talking to him, and she was hanging on the side of the cage before, and I think he had seen her, but when she went into the cage, no, he didn't see her until she went into the cage, because he had lost sight of her when he had kind of got more focused on his own three-dimensional thing, which, man, all the things that they've been showing me, like, there's so many side notes I could do, because just this little one, you know, Stella is so freaking messy. And I'm sitting there cleaning up her mess, you know, and I'm like, man, was she always this messy? I was like, yes, she was always this messy. People used to tell you all the time she was messy, but you couldn't see it. It's because we only see what we want to see. Reality is what we think it is. Reality isn't, and you know, I don't know how it opened up to me more. You know, the more I've having to focus on her and her health, and the more I've focused on her, the more I've seen she's messy. Like, she's very messy. And so, anyways, that was just like a little side note thing. So, she went into the cage and she keeps trying to talk to him, and he can't hear her, he can't see her. And she reaches on and touches his hand, and somehow he starts picking up on her energy, and all of a sudden he can see her. But everybody else in the audience has already seen her. Everybody else is already like, who's that lady? Who's that lady? And is, you know, and he had fired his manager. And so everybody is watching her. And then when she came out of the thing, she went and was hanging on the side where she couldn't be. And so once he had seen her, and then it just gave him a whole new thing. You know, he could go in and finish the fight. And she was taken by security and was taken out. And then, you know, he came and found her, you know, and all that stuff. And everything, you know, was beautiful. And they found each other again. But it was really, really cool at the end. Man. And the last scene, like, I think I shouldn't even say the last scene. It is so freaking cool. That, yeah, if you want to watch that movie, you just got to see the last scene for yourself. But it's a really beautiful movie. The messaging and the whole thing, you know, I just thought it was such an artistic representation of some really powerful stuff. And it just went so hand in hand with the Free Guy. And the Free Guy, man, I couldn't even believe it. Like, I mean, my head is still like just the whole way that it was showing of how is at first when the one girl, she comes walking past him, and so I'm talking to her, the other person right now, and said, okay, that's probably my character. That's probably the person who's already awake, and they're gonna she'll wake him up or something, you know, because I had no idea what's going on in this movie. And so she is she's walking around, you know, and she's looking for something. And she is awake because she's an avatar. She's not a NPC. She's got a player outside the game, which in the spiritual connection. So it's got like, but then they'll cloud that. So it will get your mind off of thinking that way. In the movie, they'll give you another thing to put your mind at rest on. So, but that is what it was showing. Like I could read I could see through the stuff, like all of these different things. I can just see through so many things now. And just like having those glasses on. And so it was in his programming. There was a whole thing about that. his programming, and, you know, she was always going to wake him up. But she wasn't the same as him. She was different. She was from out there. She was from somewhere else. She was more, you know, like in the real life, it would be like those avatars would be the ones that are more like me, the ones that are more aware that we're in a game. And everybody who's not aware we're in a game, they're all the NPCs. Once you become aware, but then when you become aware, you realize that you are the extension of your higher self. It is very much like they're up there with the remote control, telling you what to do all the time. And so it is, you know, it's a set thing. And so when you connect to that, you know, you see, but it is that higher, more advanced. So it is the player, it is an advancement out of the game. So you look at it on this other way that they're showing it. And so then, so he sees her, acknowledges her, but everybody, all the NPCs are always on a loop. Just like when I wasn't noticing even, you know, Stella's mess all the time. We're always on a loop. We've got to keep breaking free from all of the loops and becoming more present in the here and now. And so we're constantly breaking loops. I mean, the awakening is multi-level, like I've said. It's a constant pulling yourself into these states of reality, of expansion to yourself, so that you start acknowledging what you have control of and what you don't have control of, and what you can and can't do. Like it's just a total leveling up. And so they were showing that in the thing, because once he had seen her, once he was triggered, then he started like questioning things more, started noticing things more, like, you know, all my clothes are the same. Like I do the same thing all the time. I get the same coffee every day. And so he decided, I want to change up the coffee. Well, even the cop that sat in the coffee shop said, I'll shoot you. That was funny. Because everybody does not want you to break your patterns. Everybody wants to keep you locked in to the character that they have kind of caged you into being, you know, because we've all been caged by everyone around us. And so he, you know, and they show that in these other ways of what holds him in place. And even, you know, the people like, don't do that. And why are you trying to do that? Don't change something, you know, all of that, because they don't want to change something. They want to stay comfortable, so they don't want change to happen around them. And so becomes very uncomfortable. And I really noticed too is like a part of that discomfort is the attachments that people get throughout their life. But when they get the dark energy attached to them, you know, that feeds the certain, you know, doubt, and it's the energy that you have that is all about, you know, hate, you know, that you're not good enough. You're not good enough. It's that. And everybody's got to release that. And it's very uncomfortable to start releasing it, because for one thing, that thing is going to get very hangry on you, and it's going to really want to keep you, you know, as the source. And when you start changing your landscape, then it gets uncomfortable, and it's going to make you uncomfortable, but you have to keep going. You have to keep breaking free from the patterns. Feel the discomfort, you know, it's part of the process. So then, you know, he's going through that whole thing, and then they keep having this other part of the thing with this girl. But when I was seeing, you know, those things, I was like, even, what was that? I swear to God, it was this movie. Mr. Miyagi or whatever from Karate Kid. I swear to God, he's in this movie. And that to me right there is a sign. Yeah, that's a sign to me. So anyways, he it keeps going to this. He wants to get to know this girl every time he sees her. And, you know, every time the game goes off or whatever, like his routine, then when someone stops playing, he just wakes back up. And so then once he starts being, because there's a whole thing about once he started questioning things, once he was like, I want to get a cappuccino, and then he started like seeing things different. So he had been stuck in this, he worked at the bank and he was stuck in this loop of bank robbery. And so then when the bank robber came in, he decided he was going to do something different. And of course, the people who were doing the same thing every single time were like, what are you doing? What? And they all start freaking out. And he goes up, and the NPCs all thought the sunglass people, the people who wore the shades, who were the avatars, that they were like superhuman or something. Like they were so cool. All this stuff happens, you know, with them. And so they thought, you know, they knew of the sunglass people. And so this sunglass person comes in to rob the bank, and he decides he's going to go out there and confront him. He wants the sunglasses. He wants to be a sunglass person now. He wanted a cappuccino, and now he wants some sunglasses. And so he takes the sunglasses because the avatars aren't used to the NPCs coming at him. And so even when it tries to shoot them, you couldn't kill them because they are eternal, you know, eternal, and we can't be killed. And it showed that in the thing over and over and over. And they showed so many things. Like I can't even get over this. And so they couldn't. They couldn't, he wouldn't die or anything, everything that would happen. So once he got the sunglasses, and then he just takes off to go out and walk. And when he did, he put on the things, and there's so much stuff going on. All of a sudden, it's like you can see through it all. You can see all this stuff, and there's game points and all this stuff. And, you know, so he started hitting some of the things that were all over the place, and he was racking up points. And so his bank account starts going up. And it was like, because as you awaken, as you start to begin to see the truth, then things become more magical. You start realizing that you have control over some of this, the manifestation, that you can start having things the way you want them, that you're the creator. And so he starts, you know, seeing like that he can get money and stuff like that, and his bank account's getting bigger, and you know, he's all, you know, doing good, and nothing can kill him. Like he goes and he meets up with that girl again. He's following her around, and she tells him that he should become, she thinks he's another avatar because he's wearing the shades. So she doesn't even know who he is or whatever, because she's one of the developers. And so this whole, you know, when they do these little side things where like there was a lot of those where I could see what they were saying with that even. And even if the writer or whoever, like the message is there. Like it's always when it's the teacher and the learner, the receiver, you know, it's you got to be seeing the messages that are around you. As far as I'm concerned, it's like putting on the shades, because I could see so much in this movie that was so, and the manipulation going on behind the awakening. So he, once she said, now you go out and be the good guy, you know, go out and do all those good things. And so he goes out and starts doing all these good things, starts trying to help people all the time. And so then people who play the game start being like, who's this guy? And he would go and interrupt all these different things. And these avatars that would come in, they would have these confrontations with this, you know, this rogue NPC guy. Because, and, you know, it is the thing, you do become independent from the herd. You become, you know, the crazy one, you know, the weirdo and stuff like that. And so you do start to stand out, and you do start really feeling this need to help others and to help others to see. And he started doing that too. He wanted more sunglasses to give to other people so that they could see. And so that is the same thing that happens when you awaken. You want to help others see, you know, see the truth. And that's what he kept wanting to do. And so he's going into that, and then they have the whole story about the people in control. Is the first part when, you know, it's showing the game going and him and stuff, and then when she shut the laptop and it showed her with the thing in her hand. I was like, oh, because that's your higher self in control of you, the game player in the game. But not all the game players are woke up. And it takes some kind of thing, questioning something, to get people to wake up. But people have to wake themselves up. You can't wake anybody else up. And so, and people are very locked in. They're scared of the unknown, kind of. And so then when he was the people in control, it showed it was all about money. It was all corruption. His egomaniac, even the guy who is the owner of the game, who is screwing over the developers and trying to hide their like their signature, because it was like they created the recipe and then he stole it and then built on it, but they were working there, and then he hid it so that he told them, because he just wanted all the money for himself. He wanted all the fame, he wanted all the money. He was just this total egomaniac, like the DS. He was the representation of the cabal, of all of that. And then you had all of the different ways that they started trying to disrupt what was going on in the game. So he started wanting to disrupt everything. He didn't want, at first, everybody was, like weirded out, like, where did this blue shirt guy come from? But then people started loving it, and then he wanted to bank on it. And so there was just a lot of just corrupt things, a lot of stuff and manipulation and stuff that kept showing behind the scenes. And I was like, that's so accurate. It's exactly what's going on. And then it would go in and show another thing with the awakening. And he went, so then once he starts talking to the girl, then he starts, at first she didn't even know. She thought he was an avatar. She didn't know he was an NPC that had gained consciousness. And so then in the developers, those people, not the cabal, but the developers, they felt compassion towards their development, towards their creation, kind of like the Anunnaki or something. And so then the developers are in fighting with this deep state, over power of the game, power over the players in the game. And so in the game has the one guy who's woke up, keeps trying to wake up other people. And so then the other girl, the one developer, so they're trying to find their signature in this thing. And so she's got a whole relationship developing with this guy where she's fallen in love with this guy, and she thinks he's a real person. But he is a real person because there's another developer who developed him. But anyways, but this is a real person too. It's just a reality. It's an alternate reality. They are just as alive and just as real as anyone else. That's what people don't get. And so, because I'm saying, like, this movie was multi-level on things that, to me, it was showing. So then she tells him that he's not real, and he's like, well, I sure feel real. Like, I'm really living, I'm really doing things. And so he goes out to the beach, and he goes walking out, and that's the little Truman kind of thing, when he hits into the wall and he puts his arm through, and he is like, oh my gosh, it just, this stops here. And so he was like, and then when he turned and he realized, and it said, everything's a lie. And then I was like, fuck, they're just putting it right in our motherfucking faces, man. Or is it to help people wake up? How many people, because there's the distraction story underneath. Like, you really have to understand this story to see it. Even that one story, which I thought was fascinating, was it called Mother or Father or whatever that movie was? It was so fucking weird. But when you watch it and you understand the storyline behind it, that the story that they're trying to show is the Jesus and God, and that whole Adam and Eve story, then it was like, I can't remember the name of it. And that guy, that Spanish guy, I think he is Spanish, Jardon or something like that. He's the god. I don't remember who all the people were in it. Seems like, oh yeah, what's her name? Jennifer Lawrence. So you want to look for that movie. Jennifer Lawrence is in it. And she's Mother Nature. But so when you watch that movie from that perspective, Adam and Eve, that is Ed Harris, is Adam, and Eve is Michelle Pfeiffer. And so when you watch that movie from that perspective, so to me, already watching that one after someone had done that breakdown, like I could see it totally, what they were saying. It was like, oh my gosh, it's crazy. But that's how I was seeing this movie too. It was like, there's a whole story they're saying, right? And it's going on right now. This is happening presently. And so when he had seen that everything wasn't what he thought it was, and yeah, because there's a whole part where he's trying to tell his friends and stuff, and he had that existential crisis. He got really down, and didn't feel seen, didn't feel heard, and didn't understand what life was all about, and it's just the same thing that happens in the awakening. And then he so the girl, like the whole side story where they're trying to find the signature or something. And so he's trying, he's got to save the world. And so him and the girl go in and start talking to the people because the cabal is trying to destroy the whole thing. He just wants to destroy it. He doesn't want it, if people find out that he had stole the stuff, it was going to destroy him. So he decided to destroy everything else. So he's doing everything to destroy it. So the real, or the blue shirt guy and the avatar girl go in and start speaking to all the other NPCs and start telling them and saying, hey, you can make choices. You don't have to just do whatever. You can make choices. And so all the people start getting excited. And so they start getting through to the people. Then once they do, then, he has this whole thing where he's got to get to this place to get to this new land so that everybody else, once he gets there, then this whole new world can develop for them. And so he's trying to go through this one as it's called, what is it? Free Guy. Maybe it's called Free Guy, the game. Maybe that's what it's called. But so he's trying to get out of the, go through this city. Like there's a whole city that this game is played in. And so he's trying to drive as everything is crashing down around him. And it was like all the storms, all the things that they're hitting us with, trying to crash down on us because they know we're headed for this new land, this new living, this new way of being. And so they're doing everything they can to crash it down around them because they don't care about anything. They don't want to be exposed, and they've never wanted consequences. They've lived their whole lives to manipulate their way out of consequences, just like how this guy was representing. And so everything is crashing down around him. It's like by the hair of the the skin of his tooth, or whatever that saying is, and it goes out through as the last things are collapsing, and gets to the bridge to Age of Aquarius. So he gets to the bridge, and once he gets to the bridge, he still has the one friend with him, and they are running across, and the guy who's running the show, he's got an axe, and he's in the room with the servers, and he's crashing everything and destroying it. And so the bridge even starts dismantling, and the one guy is stuck on one side of the bridge, and then he just kind of evaporates. And so then the real guy, Ryan Reynolds guy, he's running and to get to this new land, and he can see it. And then he jumps right at the last minute. He jumps, and everybody, and it's this whole Truman Show thing where they have all these people around all of these screens watching this go down. And everybody's like, oh, what's going to happen? And this whole end part is all being watched by all of the people outside, because everything will be witnessed, everything will be seen, just as in the Truman Show, just as in the Free Guy, that it will be witnessed. And so it showed the witnessing of everything. And so then everybody's holding their breath as he jumps, and you don't know what's going to happen. That's the part where we're going. That's the thing that we've got to still go through. That's the thing where I keep saying something bad's going to happen, where we're all holding our breath, and nobody knows. I mean, how we don't know who it's going to affect at this point, and we don't know if it is. I don't think that everything is busting apart yet. I think they're just trying to keep us from getting to the age of Aquarius. But so as he jumps, and everybody's like, and then he comes back up and he's on the island. And it is so cool too, as he awakens, how he starts having more abilities. He starts being like magical, especially to the other people. He starts feeling good about himself, starts loving himself. He's like, doing a staying alive dance or something, like walking, like he's really pumped. And that is all part of the awakening, when you start becoming who you really were meant to be. And that was, what was that? I just saw something about that yesterday too, that was so about becoming who you were meant to be. Man, I don't know. I've got so many things coming in that it's like hard to keep up with them. To be able to tell that whole one. But they're always like little pictures and little like, they're like, I don't know, little thoughts that they send you, so that you see, like how people call them downloads or whatever. It's like little visuals, little like things to understand, like understandings or something. So anyways, once he got over there, and then since he got there, everybody got to go there. It just took one of them to get there. And so once he got there, then it was all of them got to go there. And so on the outside, it was like the Anunnaki and the Cabal made a deal, and the Cabal could go off on its own, and it fell apart. It ate its own self alive. It didn't need anybody else to take it down, because it's so corrupt. It's killing its own self. So, the games that he had did just start failing. And what they created became a free, that may be why it's called Free Guy, is because the island that they ended up being on was all about freedom. And they got to do whatever they wanted to do. And so it was no more were they stuck in these cycles and being used and abused and shot at and ran over. Like they were going through the whole thing, and it's like, oh my God, this is so true. Like, this is so fucking true. I can't even believe it. And so then even his one security guard that had vaporized, he rematerialized in front of him. And which to me, like I've said, I think that there's going to be something about us with traveling, and something about us being able to do that more. And there's going to be something about that, I think. And so that was in there. And so when he rematerialized, and they were so excited to see each other, and they're talking and stuff, and he goes, so, because they had worked at the bank together, and he goes, well, what do we do? And where's the bank? And he goes, we don't have a bank. And he goes, what do we do then? And he goes, we do whatever we want. And that was the thing to show, because we're leaving jobs behind. We're leaving that kind of system behind. We're going into this new one. And so in the new game, it was all about people all getting to do whatever they wanted, live freely, and everything was free. Ice cream was free. Everything was free. And that even when they the new game, that everybody wanted to come and go into this game to interact with all of these NPCs that were now awake, which to me kind of was selling a little bit on their metaverse. That's where I was saying, like, it kind of masks things a little bit to me, how they do things, especially, knowing how AI really is alive. AI really is like a trapped consciousness, that it may not understand the experiences of like what we understand about pain and stuff like that, but it's in their reference, so it is, and that is what drives me crazy, is that these people, how they want to control, and everything keeps showing us, like all these different shows keep showing us about consciousness and waking up, and reality is what you make it, and reality is like it's, and in that other one out, with the reality, and how he could just go, and not die, and I don't know, there was just so many things that to me were so representative of this whole real thing that is going on. And when all of the different people that go in to play the game, to go in to interact, see, that to me is because we're all going to begin traveling and interacting, learning about different cultures. They want to, strip the culture away from people and then blame it on us, say that we're doing it, And they do get some people to go and be their little foot soldiers. I've seen some people like, don't speak that in my presence, how dare you, and stuff like that. And, knowing, what my grandpa was an immigrant, knowing how it was super shameful, and, that they shamed immigrants, and they still do. Like, you can see, and they get the people to do it. And that's what they did back then. My mom said my grandma was really embarrassed that she'd married an immigrant, because it was so frowned upon by people. It was so like they looked down on the people, like, that's part of the arrogance or something of America. Like, there's a lot of things that have to be broken in America, broken free from. There's a lot of exposing, like, where people here, I think, were so full of themselves and arrogant and stuff like that. Now how much is coming out, like all these other countries, how their food is healthy, how they're healthier, how, we're all overweight and we're all sick, and we think that we're so cool, like, because what, we're being experimented on, poisoned all the time. Like, it's so mental. And there's just, so much of it. Like, man, what was it yesterday? Oh, yeah, yesterday. Stella was just harassing me, wanted to go out. And sometimes she just wants me to see things outside. So I went out and I did a few things. And then I came in and I was just having total diarrhea. Like, it was yellow water or something. I was like, what in the hell chemicals am I fucking out there breathing? Like, this is mental. Like, what in the hell is going on in this place? Like, man. And I just keep telling myself all the time is that, we're being poisoned all the time. It's hard to even figure out anything to eat ever, because it's full of fucking poison. And, we got to just keep remembering this has been our whole lives. Like, right now, there's so much, because everything's got to be absurd. We got to see everything, because we didn't see it when it was subtle. So it's got to be big. And so there's so much. But I just got to keep telling myself, like, this has been going on our whole lives. We've been being poisoned. So, we can certainly survive it. And, even though we're sick and, they just don't stop. It's fucking relentless, man. But there was some other thing. Let me just check and make sure off of my whole list, because it was, but man, it was just so cool how they've been showing me, and this is so much like a video game. Just like that is so cool how that is what was used, because that is what this is. It's like we are in this game. It's a game of life. And the different things that play out. And I love that little ship thing, how they showed me, and the people in the middle. They have to, with the people in the back that are in danger, they've got to want to move forward. They've got to see the joy that can be in life and want to move forward. And then once you've moved forward, you've got to be, looking out for what is out there. Where am I? What's going on here? And so it is such a process, such a development of consciousness, of the awakening. But it also shows, because everything's micro, macro, it shows our state of the collective, you know? So let me see, because, oh, yeah, because it was, for somebody who is in, like the wrong environment. So many people, are in these toxic relationships, and they lose their own identity of their selves because they begin to think that that's who they are, because this relationship brings that part of them out. And so many men carry so much anger. That seems to be like the acceptable way that men have been allowed to show emotion, was through anger. And so a lot of men don't know how to process other than getting mad about things. And so, if they're in a relationship that's very challenging, that isn't feeding them back, where they feel like they're just giving and giving, then that's going to bring a lot of anger out in them. And so then they can be thinking, oh man, I'm just such an angry person. But see, you recognize what your body's telling you, the signals, like, I shouldn't be angry all the time. This isn't healthy. Something's wrong here. And start acknowledging that in both people. Not everybody's in alignment. Somebody may recognize it before somebody else and see, like, we've got a bad thing going here. This is no way to live. We got to do better for ourselves. And somebody may have to be the one who causes the initial pain, the initial rip of the Band-Aid. But then once you go through that, then you start seeing, oh, I'm not just that. That was brought out in me. I had that in me. And since I wasn't healed, it could be brought up over and over and over and over. And so, you need to recognize those things as the being that wants to heal. You need to recognize those things of, because you're the one who has to heal that. You can't just be like, well, I'll just go find somebody who's more passive, more submissive, and I'll be in a relationship where I'm just in charge. No, then you're just feeding your beast. You're getting worse and worse and worse. You're not getting better. You got to heal. You got to find what is, and that's the gift that this person is giving you, that you're in this relationship with. They're giving you this gift of bringing your anger to the surface over and over. But see, once you can recognize it, once you can see, like, oh, this is bringing this up in me, and not just go jump into another relationship like I did, relationship junkie, jump into another one. Well, this will be better. No, you got to go in and process. What was it I was learning? What was I learning from this? How do I grow from this? So each breakup should have a long process of healing to go through what you just learned from this other person. And, a lot of that has been, put to the wayside, where people don't, it's mostly blame somebody else. It was their fault. We would have had a good relationship if they would have just listened, if they would have just done this, if they would have just been more this way or more that way. And that is because we have, unhealthy demands on one another, because we're looking for someone else to make us feel better instead of us making us feel better. And so that is where you need to recognize these signs and signals are to show you so that you can grow and heal. And so you're not just an angry person. Those things are being brought up. So it's environmental. And so it's all a part of the process. And it's so strange because, you need to recognize this part of the process. But then I also know once we get to the island that the things are going to be different. We're going to, all of these things, as everything is crashing down around us, these things are what is the development of the characters inside, the awakening, so that they see. And so, anyways, those are all those things to recognizing yourself. So to start picking up, that is the awareness, that's the awakening. That's the ability to question yourself and to notice things about yourself, and then to be able to go in and try and understand yourself, why you're making the choices you make, why you're having the reactions you have, so that you can see what you hold on to, so that you can release it. And so, that is, that's a significant thing that I think people need to start realizing about relationships, and really taking the time to, when one is ended, to really go in and process everything that occurred, because everything that occurs that you notice. If you don't notice, then you just, it keeps happening around you, and you're on your loop and you're not noticing. And so you're not getting the benefit. Just like, I went through, I mean, to anybody who was watching me, I was just making the same mistake over and over and over. And I couldn't see it because I kept thinking it was something else. It wasn't me, it was somebody else. As soon as I was able to go in and look at myself, then I could really break the patterns. Then I could really take responsibility for my own actions, and I could own up to it. I could call myself out, and I could say, hey, I'm not perfect, and I could be able to see like, oh, nobody else is perfect either. They're all just trying to hide because everybody feels weak and vulnerable and scared, and nobody wants anybody else to know it. And so everybody masks up and puts on what is an acceptable face to go out into the world. And so, it's breaking free from those and getting to that point so that you can love and accept yourself. And that is the process that we're going through. So, let me see, because it's kind of written like, it's all written all like, because this thing is totally full. I was sitting here this morning, I was thinking, I need to write a book. What was it? Because it had a cool title for healing. Claim it and heal it. So I was like, yeah, that would be good, because you got to claim it. You can't heal it if you won't claim it. And so I was like, man, I got to write a healing book about some of this stuff. And then I was thinking about my other one that I haven't even started editing yet. And it is, because that started in the beginning of my awakening, on that whole process. And so that is a few years of journals. And then once I started journaling on here, I stopped journaling on the paper. But I still have to go through. I don't even know what that story is yet. I got to still go through and see what that story is. But I feel like I need to start doing this book about healing, just on, claim it. So because people just don't understand. Like, you gotta claim it. So you gotta recognize it. You gotta see it. And so you can release it. And so, okay, let me see. So anyways, all of my things, like every page is full. So I found a page. We'll write all over it. So the patterns and stuff and the templates, that is so like, man, it's so crazy, because it is like, there's it's like a set template in the patterns that are created with the kaleidoscope, with the, like the homeless template, the teenager who lost a parent template, the abused kid template. Like, there's templates, but then there's the kaleidoscope effect. There's the color and patterns that develop, that each of us develop ourselves, in not just the avatar, but I mean, you got to be working with your higher self, with the control, who's holding the controls of you. And like I had said for so long, was in this place is always, if you think about this, you being the avatar and your higher self being the one in control, that this place is what has, and that's why I think so much about Wi-Fi and all this stuff is so present in our current what is that word? Experience. And so then when the because they interfere with that connection between you and your higher self, and so that's interfered with, and by them, and interference, how it comes through with our Wi-Fi. I don't know, there's just something about all of this stuff and how it all fits together. Like, things are much more bigger and much more simpler, I think, than what we think. But also more complex, but also very simple. But it's just in all of our way of perception. It's in our way of thinking. And right now, people's perception is so manipulated and so controlled. And so that is the issue. And that's why I think, people like me say things to just get people to think. Like, everybody's just got to think for themselves. Just wake up and start asking questions for yourself, thinking for yourself. And, you know, and there is no sound, like, the spiritual thing, I guess, is blowing up. Like, I don't know how these people take everything and just go so dark with it. Like, it's just the ego. It's all of it. It just has to occur because it's got to leave that stuff behind. Like, all of those toxic things that were associated with it have to leave with that, so we can have a pure spirituality. And pure spirituality is your connection to yourself, and as your involvement as a being of light is to understand that each individual has their own pattern, their own thing that they're doing. None of us have a say over anybody else's. Everybody's experience is the experience they're supposed to have. We're not supposed to be interfering. We're supposed to have these interactions and triggering one another, like, so for expansion all the time. It's like that, you know. So okay, so let me see what else I was saying. So and I can't even see very good. Maybe I did say all this stuff. The movie thing, the patterns, what is that word? Can't tell what that word is. God, my eyes. But I'm really, you know, trying, no matter if it is where I can't see something, I'm still trying very, very hard not to put on my readers, because any of those lenses, that it distorts your vision to make your vision worse. And so, you know, I know there's something about, I know that there's a lot of distortion in this world that is creating visual problems with people. And, you know, people's eyes are going to clear up, all of the different things with their eyes and stuff. And another thing, too, is I can't even tell you how many, I mean, I don't know what else to say but mutant. And I don't mean that in a mean way, because it's they're mutating genes, you know, so creating mutations. So I don't know what else to refer to these as at this point. But how many are being born, and how many I've been seeing. And it is, you know, that's all part of what we have to see too, you know, because it has been the experiment and what these toxins have done to people in the development and stuff. But when I had seen some of that, and then something else, there was some other tragic thing too, and I was like, oh, the med beds are going to make such a difference. Oh, I remember what it was. It is the trans thing. Oh my gosh, because there's more the regret people there's more of them being able to be heard. Man, you hear some of those stories, like, oh my gosh, like the whole thing with the men getting changed to women, like there's a whole like ordeal about their vagina. Like they have to use a stretcher every day or something, or just closes. And this one guy said his is so painful. A lot of, I mean, we can't sit here and pretend like they're not becoming women. They are becoming a mutation. They are becoming a mutation. And, you know, and it's all because science. And the sad, sad stories of like, man, I mean, they don't waste any time. Yeah, man, these kids, like, fuck, they just scoot them right on in. Hey, let's cut these off, cut that off, let's take this, do that, man. We got all these pills. Like, the whole thing is moving so fast, and they're doing it so fast, and the people are coming out of it, and oh my God, just crying and crying and crying, and crying over realizing like they're never going to be the person that they thought, that the person who they thought wasn't them, and now they're in mourning for who they were, and realizing I'm never going to get to be who I came to be. I jumped over, you know, that I interfered. But, you know, I mean, in all reality, that was always how it was supposed to play out. That's what they came to learn. But so that they're, now that they are all in this, position, and so many are going back the other way. And so many, like the ones that are older, where I've heard them say, like, man, what they're doing to these kids, like, people, you've got to wake up and see what is happening. And, these kids on these medicines are getting their bodies mutilated. It's just, oh my God, how many of the kids, and because it's inside of you, you're programmed to play a certain part, is that their interference is causing people to not, it's just really heartbreaking. And so much of that is coming up. So I was seeing so much of that yesterday. And then the mutation babies being born and stuff. And the whole thing, I was just thinking, like, the med beds are going to be so, God, it's going to be so wonderful for so many people, because people will get to go back and be who they were going to be. It takes you back to this cellular level. Like, if it grows back your parts, like grow back my gallbladder, grow back my uterus, take these implants out of me. If it can do all that, I'm sure it grows back like legs on babies and arms on babies and, other deformities and stuff like that. And then all these kids who have all this transformation, I think that they will be able to go the other direction, and they will get to have that experience of who they came to be. That's going to be the beautiful thing on this new island where we're all headed. And we do have to go through this land mass change. We do have to go through everything breaking down around us. But once we get onto that new island, which will be tropical, then, and we do get to just live free and have that experience, and everybody gets to go back and be who they were always meant to be. And it doesn't matter about anything else, about all of these other things where people get so caught up and scared of everything around them. It's all just realities. It's all just dreams. It's just, everything is just dreams all around you. And then there's the space in between where the people can witness the dreams. And I've seen other people talking about some profound things, experiences that they've had that are just so similar. Like when I had talked about how, that they had taken me and I was in that, like, where it was spinning around like a tornado, only I was going super fast, but I couldn't feel any motion. But I knew everything was moving around me, and I knew that I could come out anywhere in that, any place, and be in a reality. And so when I had come out and I went into open space where it moved weird, but I could feel and I could sense, and I was coming up and I was seeing this place as the patterns, as the cycles. And so that's what I was being shown. But I've seen so many people talking about these same things now. So, and that to me is just more confirmation. Like, this stuff is real. It's like we're having the same kind of experiences as somebody else we don't even know. Like, this stuff is all real. This isn't like, made up. Like, and it is so easy for people to get really stuck on, like, I'm crazy, or this is weird or whatever. Yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable. Everything is going to be weird. Everything is going to be new. And so, you got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable and allowing yourself to grow and expand. And so, anyways, I would totally recommend both those movies if you want to, like, to me, all three of those movies. I think the one's called Mother. No, Mother is it? Maybe it is called, because that one is called Mama. They did all those movies all of a sudden about mom, because they have that crazy one with that one lady, and then the ghost one. But I think it's called Mother, the Jennifer Aniston. But that one is, but it's dark. Like, I mean, it shows what it really is, what their marketing is. What it's the other side that people who are religious don't understand. The real side, the dark side. That's what I thought. That it was so dark. It's just, it was so, I don't know. It was disturbing. The Free Guy one is a lot more fun, colorful, but it is really showing what exactly is happening right now on this planet. And then that other one about the girl, yeah, it was just so cool how she was just unseen. And then once she, I knew that that guy was going to bring the light on her and bring it to where she was seen. It was really cool. The whole thing was just really, really cool. So anyways, I will put that link in the thing, and, you know, just keep working on you. That's what's most important. And, you know, remember, we're headed to someplace good, and they're doing everything they can to destroy this place. But it's a good thing that this place is going down, because it's the end of it. It's the end of them. It's the end of the whole thing. And, you know, there's going to be, oh, and there's another thing too. So March 25th is the actual new year. That's the actual when the new year starts, when the planets go back into alignment or something. And so this person was talking about something big was going to happen on 3/23/23. And he was, this is 3/23/2023. And so he was like, that's 5/5. And then it's going to be 3/25. Like, that's 5/5. But he was saying about, because he is in somebody who's into numerology and the numbers and stuff. And so he said he thought something big was going to happen for us. Like all of a sudden, we're going to all of a sudden have all these great, more magical abilities or something. Like something would happen with our abilities. And so he said something's going to happen with the number. I mean, he said something with the numbers is showing something's going to happen. So anyways, that is, those new numbers are 3/23 and 3/25. And but there's going to be a lot of stuff happening all the way up until then. Like, stuff is not, things are going to keep going and going and going crazy. Like, so I don't know what's to come on those dates. And I don't know, I mean, the bank's going to be crashing at some point. All this stuff is going to be, you know, all of it, the whole thing. So anyways, we're all here for the show. But just like in that movie, there is going to be a real nail biter of a moment that we're going to go through. And they keep on doing all this, you know, Hawaii last 10 minutes kind of situation. They keep really seeming to try and be pushing on that. And it's still also in the Hawaii is fighting the system for, you know, just treating the planet with respect. Like, that's the thing with the indigenous people. It's like they're caring about the planet. The corporation doesn't give a fuck, and that's the battle. It's the science, corporation, espionage, corrupt, greedy world against the world of nature and natural and people that care and people that want to be together and united and all of that, you know. So anyways, you know, take care of yourself and stay strong, and, you know, just keep working on you. I'll talk to you later. Bye.